Many people have been killed.
The second biggest air tragedy in India.
At the moment, it is losing altitude.
What was supposed to be a normal flight just turned into a tragedy. Air India flight AI-171, on its way to London Gatwick, took off from Ahmedabad on June 12, 2025. Just seconds after liftoff, at around 1:38 p.m. local time, the plane started losing altitude and crashed into a residential neighborhood called Meghani Nagar. It hit the ground near a medical college hostel and immediately went up in flames. There were 242 people on board, 230 passengers and 12 crew members. Sadly, it's now known as the first fatal crash involving a Boeing 787 Dreamliner. Families are grieving, emergency teams are still working at the crash site, and people everywhere are asking the same question: what went so horribly wrong? Now, here's what we know right now. The plane, a Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner with tail number VT-ANB, took off from Ahmedabad at 1:38 p.m. IST, heading to London. On board were 230 passengers and 12 crew members. Among them were 169 Indian nationals, 53 from the UK, 7 from Portugal, and 1 Canadian. Witnesses and videos show the plane nosediving right after takeoff, hitting the ground hard and bursting into a fireball near homes and the doctor's hostel. Rescue teams were on the scene quickly: fire engines, ambulances, disaster response forces, and the border security force. They rushed to put out the fire and search for survivors. Sadly, the early report says over 200 people on board lost their lives. One man, 40-year-old Vishwash Kumar Ramesh, a British Indian, was found alive and taken to the hospital for treatment. Air India has set up a helpline and says it will fully cooperate with the investigation. International experts, including the UK's Air Accidents Investigation Branch and Boeing, are already involved in figuring out what went wrong. What exactly caused this crash? That's the big question right now. It was gathered that right after takeoff, there was a distress call, a mayday, from the pilots. But just 90 seconds into the flight, all communication suddenly stopped. The plane was only about 625 feet in the air when it dropped. Investigators are looking at every possible reason. One theory is engine failure, especially with Ahmedabad's extreme heat. It was 43 degrees Celsius that day, which can put extra stress on aircraft systems. Others are thinking it could have been a mechanical or software issue, like something wrong with the hydraulics or flight controls. There's also the chance of an external factor like wind shear or a bird strike, but so far, weather reports were clear and there's no evidence of anything like that. India's top aviation investigators DGCA and the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau are teaming up with experts from Boeing, the US NTSB, and others. Thankfully, they've already recovered the black boxes, the flight data and cockpit voice recorders. These will give a second-by-second account of what the pilots saw, said, and did during those final moments. It may take weeks for a full report, but we should start seeing some early findings soon, things like engine performance, alarms in the cockpit, or anything unusual in how the plane was flying. For now, families, the aviation industry, and the world are waiting anxiously to understand exactly what went wrong. In the aftermath of this tragedy, India's Civil Aviation Minister, Ram Mohan Naidu, said the government is on high alert. He's personally overseeing the response. He called the crash shocking and heartbreaking, one of the worst aviation disasters India has seen in years. Every emergency agency was mobilized fast: firefighters, medical teams, the National Disaster Response Force, the Central Reserve Police Force. Even the airport was temporarily shut down so everyone could focus on rescue and recovery. Air India, for its part, has launched a helpline for families and started offering counseling and support services to those affected. They also promised a full internal review of their own procedures. Globally, investigators and aviation bodies are stepping in. Boeing, DGCA, and the UK's AAIB are all involved in figuring out what went wrong. Meanwhile, messages of sympathy have poured in from around the world. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi shared his condolences, as did the British Prime Minister and even King Charles III. Social media has been flooded with prayers and heartbreak from people in all corners of the globe, reminding us just how many lives were touched by this flight. Sadly, this isn't the first time India has experienced a major air disaster. There's a painful history behind today's crash. Back in 1996, There was a mid-air collision over Charkhi Dadri that killed 349 people. In 1993, a crash in Aurangabad claimed 55 lives. In June 2000, a plane went down while trying to land in Patna, killing dozens in the air and on the ground. And more recently, in 2020, an Air India Express flight skidded off the runway in Kozhikode during heavy rain, killing 21 and injuring over 100. Each of those tragedies brought changes. After Charkhi Dadri, India upgraded its radar systems. Kozhikode's crash led to better runway safety measures. And after 2020, the country made major updates to its overall aviation safety standards. But still, despite all the improvements, this crash is a harsh reminder that even the most modern planes can fail. This is the first fatal crash involving a Boeing 787 Dreamliner in India. And it raises serious questions. Are the systems on these advanced aircraft really as safe as we think? And what else needs to be done to make flying safer for everyone? In the coming weeks, everyone's attention will be on the black boxes, the flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder. Those devices hold the answers to what happened during those final moments. Teams from India's Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau, the US National Transportation Safety Board, and the UK's Air Accidents Investigation Branch are already working together. They're trying to piece together every second, every warning, every decision made in that cockpit. Experts and aviation groups are already pushing for change. They want faster safety checks, better emergency training for pilots, and stronger weather detection systems, tools that can spot danger before it's too late. The crash has also shaken trust in the Boeing 787 Dreamliner. After the news broke, Boeing stock took a hit, dropping more than 7% before the markets opened. For regulators in India, the US, Europe, and beyond, this crash is a wake-up call. How they respond now could shape the future of global aviation safety. People are asking, could this tragedy change how we build, fly, and inspect planes worldwide? Many believe it has to. The cost of doing nothing is just too high. What happened on June 12, 2025, wasn't just a plane crash. It was a devastating loss of over 200 lives in a matter of seconds. Families are grieving, investigators are searching for answers, and the aviation world is on high alert. This was the first deadly crash involving a Boeing 787 Dreamliner, an aircraft once seen as the future of flight. Now, that future feels uncertain. As black box data is reviewed and investigations continue, one thing is clear: changes need to be made. The hope is that through this tragedy, lessons will be learned about better safety checks, stronger pilot training, improved emergency responses, and smarter aircraft systems. Because every life on board mattered. Every single one. For the families left behind, for the global flying public, and for everyone who trusts that taking off means landing safely, we owe it to them to make flying safer, smarter, and better. Thanks for staying informed. Let's keep honoring the lives lost by pushing for answers and real action. If this update helped you understand the facts, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell icon. We'll keep covering major news events with accuracy and compassion. Thanks for watching.